Hi everyone. I'll try to do this video and see how it goes. I made several last night, but they either cut off, or the final one I did, it just didn't feel right and I was really tired. I'd been having migraines, and so I don't know. But I was talking about Dolly, and first of all, I would not channel her. I just don't feel it's appropriate to do that unless they come to me. Like, I had someone come to me one time after they had passed on, but that was more like a private thing that I didn't talk about it on my channel for months. I don't know. I just don't ever feel it's appropriate to channel someone right after they pass. It's got, let their family grieve. So I'm not going to channel her. But I will say this. Like I wrote in my post last night, when I tried to make my videos, there was one video that it was like the first one, and I kept yawning because my headaches, and I was really tired, and it was really, I had to go to bed after that. It's happening again. I don't know what's going on. That's weird that it keeps happening. Anyway, I was making the video and I started it off and I said, "Here I am." And then I thought about it and I was like, that was weird. Why did I say that? And I said, "Here I am." And then that's kind of like when I started to think, I think I'll just erase this and make a new video. And then it never worked out. But I just found that strange. So I said that phrase twice. And by the way, that's a picture of Linda McCartney that I'm working on. Another beautiful, light-hearted, light-filled earth angel like Dolly Parton. Kind of ironic, actually, because I didn't mean to have her picture there, but it's just there and I left it there. But anyway, so yeah, I said that phrase, "Here I am, here I am," and then I erased it. And then as I was going to bed, I saw that article that said that Dolly had a show on PBS, Masterpiece or whatever it was, called "Here I Am." And I don't know, just the timing. It doesn't mean that she reached out to me. I think it was just more of an intuitive thing of just me picking up her energy in the universe. And I don't know, maybe it was a message. But here's what's ironic about it, okay? One time as I was meditating, John Lennon, who I feel I've had past lives with, as you know, I don't have to go into all that, but I was in between meditation and wakefulness, and it was like that 1 second when you snap out of it. As I snapped out of the meditation, I heard him say, "Here I am." So what is that? For years now, it was around 2020. For years now, I've thought of that phrase and thought, what did that mean? What did that mean? Like, am I supposed to go find him in that realm that's really hard to get to because you really do have to be in the right meditative state? Or, do I have to try to channel him? Do I have to try to hear his voice again, which is really hard? And the way his voice sounded was, "Here I am, here I am." It was like that. I've tried to recreate it so many times. But just the phrase itself, it's like, what does that mean? And I kind of, like last year, I kind of came to peace with it, that the phrase meant he's right here. And of course, spirit is in sort of like a slipstream in between the spiritual realm and the living. And here we are in our physical bodies, and we're all spirit, but they're in really the real reality, which is the spirit world and the divine and source. And he's there, he's always there. And he's always, sounds strange, but he's always with me. Part of him, there's a whole bunch of his realities where, spirit can be anywhere they want, with anyone they want, at any time. There's no limitations. So, but it does seem that he's with me a lot. And he was saying, "Here I am." And now I hear that Dolly had that phrase, and on the day she passes, that phrase comes to me twice. So it must be something with spirit where they just want us to know they're not gone. So maybe that's what I'm not channeling her. I'm not trying to channel her personal information. It's more like a spiritual information of her spirit saying, "I'm right here. My body may be gone, but I'm..." And here's the thing. Did any of us ever, hardly any of us, right? Some lucky people, many lucky people, but most of us did not ever get to meet her in person. So most of our experience with Dolly was on a mental realm, of watching a movie or hearing her beautiful voice, listening to her lyrics. seeing her on a show, hearing her in interviews, reading articles where she does interviews, seeing her pictures. So most of our experience with Dolly was kind of like a spiritual experience because we weren't there in the room with her. We didn't know her. And so the thing is, she's gone, but not really. And that's the thing. Here I am. She was here in the physical realm, and she's still here. She's still here. And as an earth angel. And I think that's the thing about Dolly. And that's what I was saying last night in my video, was that she's kind of like every man's and every woman's Marilyn Monroe. Now, Marilyn Monroe was far above what anyone could have. Like, only a few people could have her. Joe DiMaggio and, you know, people like that. Henry Miller, I believe, was, I can't remember who the writer was, but she pulled some very interesting men. And but most of, and Truman Capote was like her best friend, and most of us could not have Marilyn. She was a sex symbol, and she was just far beyond what any of us earthly beings could ever have. And yet Dolly Parton was like everyone's friend and mother and aunt and, you know, lover, and she was an earth angel. She really was. And so I think that's the message, like, here I am is the message from her, that she's always going to be with us. So if you're sad, you know, just remember, you never met her. Most of us didn't meet her physically. You still have her music, and she's not gone. Her body's gone, but spiritually she's still here and will always be here with us. And I feel like now she's sort of like dispersed across the universe and humanity for everyone to have access to. And she is that big. She is that big, beautiful light for everyone. And I was thinking about how, I kept thinking of this yesterday, that David Bowie sort of began this dark period in history, right? Led us into the darkness. He's a star man, and he led us into the dark universe of the darkness of humanity, and he was a star leading us through it. And now Dolly Parton is like the bookend of leading us back into the light of humanity. And I really feel that. I really feel that. So even though it's sad that she's gone, it's kind of like a blessing, because she is dispersed for all of us now to love and to remind. Here's the thing. She was the exact embodiment of what God is. And I hope my camera doesn't shut off here. Christianity and all of that, and Jesus and everything, God of love, and the church, what we're supposed to be like. She was the living, breathing, perfect example of that, of brotherhood, sisterhood. When they say, I've always felt it was weird when they would say, don't say the Lord's name in vain. And it's like, well, what does that matter? You know, like, even as a kid, I was like, what does it matter? You know, oh God. No, that's nothing wrong with that. We say it almost as a reflex. Everybody says that phrase, and not to be mean to God, not to be selfish, but just as, we just say it. And I've always felt that saying God's name in vain was when people say that they're Christian and go out and hurt others, like a lot of people are doing right now in our society. That's saying God's name in vain. But Dolly was the perfect example of someone who exemplified the word of God, the word of the divine, whatever you want to call it, the source, love, forgiveness, kindness, an open heart. And she really was, and always will be. She was an earth angel. Now she's the heavenly angel. But yeah, here I am. I really think that every time you get sad about Dolly, and now Tim Curry passed on, and he was like the dark humor, the sarcasm, and the sexiness, and I don't know, that's a whole other story. But they do seem to go in threes. Celebrities, it's kind of weird, but and I think that's because they are in the same star group. We are from the universe with the Big Bang, and we are star clusters here on Earth, our spirits. So anyway, before I get too philosophical about that, I'll post this, and I just want you to ponder on that whenever you're sad about Dolly being gone, just remember that phrase, here I am, because it seems to be common in spirit on the other side, that their body is gone, but their spirit is not, and they're always with us. They're just that one thought away. And in source, we're all one. We're all connected. Our hearts are connected, and there is no emptiness. See how my camera's doing that weird stuff? We're always connected.